Hello, welcome back to my channel Christian Faith and Fiction. My name's Lou and today I'm going to be sharing with you my recent reads video. As always, I film these as and when I've been reading them, so it's a bit like a reading vlog. I've been experimenting with filming on my phone, so apologies for any shaky camera angles later on, but let's go and see how I got on. Hi, it's the 18th of August. I am in a strange position at the moment. I'm currently on my stomach trying to keep the weight off of my back. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I finished listening to Colleen Coble's audiobook, One Little Lie, which is the first book in the Pelican Harbour series. I originally got the second book from NetGalley to review, and I started listening to it, but very soon realised that I would need to read the first book, or it just wouldn't make any sense, because there is a kind of, the mystery itself is complete in each book, but there seems to be a personal life kind of carries on between the books, so it just wasn't making any sense to me. So I started on listening to this one, flew through it really quickly. I was listening on 1.7 speed. I really like this narrator. It's the same one as the other books. If you've been following my videos, the other books have the same narrator, but the style of book is quite different. This one is obviously the most recent one, whereas the ones that I was reading the last 3 months were much more romantic suspense novels. They were older books. They were kind of inclusive. Each story had its own characters, its own romance. And this one is much more like a murder mystery. The main character is a police chief. I don't know, I'm not sure exactly on how the police works in America, but I think the police chief, she's just been made, and after her father retired, she originally grew up in a cult, and they escaped. So she's got kind of past that she wants to keep quiet, but obviously we know about it as readers. But she wants to keep it quiet from the other characters, the people in the town. And then also a guy called Reed, who is making a documentary about her, and she's not terribly keen about him following her around. And then a body turns up it gets dragged up by a fishing boat, and that starts off a murder investigation, and lots of things get meshed in together. They both have secrets. Lots of people have secrets. There is obviously one little lie that was told to her that has a big impact. I don't want to say any more than that for spoilers. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I particularly liked the personal story, the personal life that was going on. The mystery was also good. I didn't guess it. I found it, at one point, a little bit confusing, but by the end I understood what was going on. I would say the personal the characters are the strongest part of the book, and the mystery was good. But if they didn't have the strong characters with it, it would have been a weaker plot, I think. But yeah, I gave it 4.75 out of 5. Just dropped it slightly because of that one area where I was a bit confused. But yeah, it's good. I'm going to continue on with the second book in the series at some point, but I've got another book that I got from NetGalley recently as well, so I'm just gonna break it up a bit and read that one first. So I'll let you know how I get on. Okay, see you later. It's the 19th of August. Yesterday I finished the book that I've been reading before going to sleep, and that is The Time Traveller's Guide to Medieval England. This is a non-fiction historical book talking about the medieval period. And if you're interested in medieval history, medieval historical fiction, then you might be interested in this one. It's written in the style of a travel guide, so as if you were going there to stay, things you'd like to do, what to expect in the way of food and clothes and customs and that kind of thing. It's quite a good way of reading history. I particularly liked that you kind of got into the nitty-gritty of daily life and that kind of thing. If you're writing historical fiction, it certainly be very useful to you. It doesn't kind of go through all the kings and the stories and of that kind of thing, but it does go into the details of daily life in a good way. So that's really interesting. Obviously not a Christian fiction book, but that is one I've read recently. It's August 26th, and this week I finished reading The Haunting at Bonaventure Circus by Jaime Jo Wright. I requested it through NetGalley, and the publishers Bethany House were kind enough to let me have a copy to review. This is a dual time period novel. It's kind of a combination of historical romance as well as a present day murder mystery. So in 1928, the story follows Pippa, who is the adopted daughter of the owner of the circus, and she originally was born into the circus but was abandoned and left for them to bring up. And she is searching to find her roots and keeps getting drawn back to the circus, even though she is forbidden to keep going there. And then in the present day, it follows Chandler, who has her business has taken over the old circus train depot, and they want to refurbish it or demolish it. They don't know what to do. And she kind of stumbles across these historical unsolved murders and gets caught up in that. As I said, it's a combination of historical romance and murder mystery with some paranormal references thrown in. It does get quite dark in some places, but that's also set off by the warmth of the characters and the setting. So, but that might be something you want to bear in mind if you only read cozy mysteries. I found the mystery both compelling and chilling. It was well paced, and they jumped back and forward between the different time periods to keep the story going to the end. I loved the romance elements and the brooding male protagonists. Both the female leads developed in different ways throughout the book, and I particularly liked seeing Pippa coming to use her own voice. I enjoyed the Christian elements through the story as different kind of side characters voiced their faith and tried to direct the characters to experience faith. The circus setting was what drew me to the book in the first place, and it gave a lot of colour to the story, though this is really about the characters around the circus rather than the show itself. I gave this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. I don't know whether I would read any more of Jaime Jo Wright's books, but it would depend on if the synopsis or the setting drew me in again like this one did. It's Friday 28th of August, and last night I finished reading a Mosaic Wings by Kimberly Duffy. This is I think it's the first book she's published, certainly the first book that I've read of hers. It took me 3 months to read it, I think, which seems like a really long time. I picked it up, got about a quarter of the way into it, and then had to put it down to review another book that came up on NetGalley, and then when I picked it up again, I couldn't quite get into it. It took me quite a long time, so I've been reading, like a chapter a day for quite a long time. It follows Nora, who really wants to keep her father's legacy alive by taking over her father's journal that he started before he died, and her stepfather runs it now, and she thinks she's not doing a very good job of it, and she wants to take it over, but he only agrees to it if she gets a scholarship to do a master's degree at the university where she wants to study insects. And in order to get this scholarship, she has to go to India to do some field research. Along with her is her fellow student Owen, who she finds kind of irritating and strange at the beginning. But they go together out to India, and it's a historical romance, so you can see how things will play out in a way, but there's a lot of twists and turns in it. Her kind of faith and her belief in the way women should be treated leads her to have to make some really difficult choices while she's in India, and she's faced with losing the things that she's always thought she wanted, and the things that she's worked for. I can't really go into much more detail without giving some of the plot away, but I really enjoyed the character of Nora. She's very headstrong, and as she develops in her relationship with Owen, they are good for each other. They grow and develop by being together, and it's a really good, healthy relationship that they have in the end. I really enjoyed seeing that. I identify with a character who spends time studying subjects that are predominantly male dominated. I've been in a few of the subjects that I've chosen. There have been only a handful of girls in those subjects, so I kind of know what it's like, but not in the way that it happened in I think it's 1885, because we just don't have that struggle to prove ourselves as women anymore, not quite in the same way that they did then. Before they weren't even allowed to vote at that point. And she is struggling to prove herself to be a good academic, whilst still going with her heart and her faith. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm going to give it 4.25 out of 5 stars. I think I've got one more book to finish before I conclude this recent reads roundup. So I'll check in again when I finished that one. It's the 2nd of September, and I've recently finished listening to 2 Reasons to Run by Colleen Coble. This is the second book in the Pelican Harbour series that I started earlier last month now. This is another book that I got through NetGalley, so thank you to Thomas Nelson for letting me borrow a copy to review. This book was definitely more romantic suspense, I think, rather than the murder mystery, which I thought the first book was more like. It continues to follow Jane and Reed, and this time they are investigating a murder on an oil platform. The book continues to follow their relationship with each other and with other people, the complications of lies that have been told in the past, and different things playing out in their lives, which I can't go into because they happened in book 1. This one is definitely a continuing series, so you need to read book 1 first. It continues with the same detectives. Rather than switching to other people in the same location, this one follows the same personal lives through the whole of the series. My favourite part of this story was definitely the personal aspect of it. I enjoyed seeing how their relationship continued to develop and go up and down, and how they developed as characters, reacting to the suspense elements and the danger that they're thrown into. It had strong elements, undercurrent of mystery and suspense, but I still think the strongest elements were not just the romance, but the whole of their relationships and the personal element. The main character, Jane, is continuing to develop her faith and question what she believes, and ask questions of her friends. Once again, it's the same narrator, so Devon O'Day, and I really enjoy listening to her. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this story is going to continue. I'm guessing it might end in the 3rd book, but I'm not sure. I gave this book 4.5 out of 5 stars, and definitely one that I enjoyed. So those were the books that I've read. 3 mystery and suspense books, an historical romance and a non-fiction. I think what I've learned this month is that I don't like to read too many of the same genre back to back, so that was kind of accidental. Probably too many mysteries in one go, but I did enjoy them, and I enjoyed most of the books I was reading. Let me know down in the comments what you've been reading this last month, and until next time, I'll see you again. Bye!